Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about a reoccurring dream that I had. While the word reoccurring isn't exactly the correct usage of the word or the correct term to use, I'm sorry for my English, it's not my first language. Um, but I've had this dream twice in my life, and each time it was more petrifying than the other. It's some sort of I don't know if this is the correct word, but a prophecy like dream. What I dreamed actually happened, or I was indicating what would happen in the future. When I was a little girl, I remember one day I was sleeping in my room and my mom was sleeping next to me. I was sleeping on the bed and she preferred to sleep on the floor. She said that I moved around a lot and she would rather sleep on the floor. And as I fell asleep, in my dream, I dreamt that I was sleeping, and that, I was sleeping in the dream, and I heard a loud banging on the door of my room, and it continued for such a long time that it woke me up. But I only could open my eyes. I was paralyzed. I'm not sure if it was a paralysis demon or some kind of demon of the sort. It was a demon of the sort, but I'm not sure which one. And it broke through the door, and my mom was still sleeping, and I couldn't move my body because I was so scared of how it looked like. Its height was almost to the ceiling. It had big horns, and it looked angry and big, like a Godzilla or something like this, It looked terrifying. Its face looked terrifying. Mind you, I was still a child. I was like 10 at that time, 10 years old. And it looked straight into my eyes, didn't do anything, and it grabbed my mother and it started tearing her apart, like how you tear apart cotton candy into little pieces. And it did exactly that to my mother, and I saw it. And it was so gory and it was so terrifying because I was a child and I wasn't the kind of child who would read a lot of scary books or watch scary movies so this was out of the blue for me, And it tore my mother's body into little pieces, like string-like pieces, and then it walked to my bed and looked at me. And as I am saying this story, I'm getting goosebumps all over my body. I felt so scared, and I was even more scared because I couldn't move, and it did nothing to me, and that's what frightened me most. And it left my room, and I just laid there on the bed with my mother's pieces on the floor, terrified, and I couldn't cry, I couldn't scream, I couldn't do anything until eventually, what felt like forever, I woke up. I woke up frightened, and I woke up as if I don't know how to explain it, as if I just had a heart attack. I put my hand on my chest and I felt my heart bumping really quickly, and I was sweating like crazy. My hair was sticky. My whole body felt fatigued, as if somebody had beat me up excessively. And I wanted to go to my mother and tell her everything, but she was sound asleep. And I was so scared that I couldn't move. I stayed in bed for, I think, half an hour. It felt like a really long time, and I was scared because the position I was left in the dream was the position I woke up in. Like, I was scared in the dream and I couldn't move my hands or my body, and I could only move my eyes, and my heart was bumping quickly and I was sweating and my body felt weary. And when I woke up, I wasn't sure if I was in a dream or in reality. And I looked next to me and I saw my mother still sleeping, sound asleep on the floor. And I was so happy and scared at the same time. I was happy that she was alive, but I was scared that the demon might come again because I still couldn't distinguish reality from fake. And I waited and I stayed awake until I saw the sunlight through my window. My bed was near my window. And that dream haunted me. I never experienced it again. I never dreamt about it again. Only once. And after 2 months exactly, my mother passed. And I never associated this dream with her passing or it being a prophecy of her passing or that I predicted it or something like this because I didn't think that the two were possible. Because the way she passed, it's not the same way as I saw her die in my dreams. And mind you, this was the first time ever that I dreamed of my mom dying. So I never associated this dream with her until a while ago, actually. I have a friend of mine, and we've been friends for a really long time. And we were actually great friends until one day, nothing. I send her messages and she doesn't reply. I talk to her, I text her, I call her, I ask about her from her family. Nobody replies to me. She doesn't reply to me. I don't see her online anymore. And I start to get scared because I love this friend and I've been with her for a long time and I care about her. She's like family, if not stronger than family. Like I cried over her more than I've cried over family because we shared a lot of memories together. And if anybody's had a really close friend, male or female, you know just how much they mean to you and how hard it is to let somebody go, especially if they feel like family more than your own family. I had a rough upbringing, and I only felt like I was myself when I was talking to her and when I was communicating with her. And having her out of my life now means having a part of my family that, if not worse, I know this is a selfish thing to say and maybe even a stupid thing to say, some might think, but I would rather lose family than lose her. Because she was the only person who understood me as I am. I could be myself around her and she wouldn't judge me. And she would respect my opinion and value it. And that's what I appreciated about her. She was my home. She was my everything. Actually, she still is my home and my everything. I'm sorry for the background noise. I have a very noisy family. So this friend just disappeared one day, and she lives abroad. She's not even in the same country, so I can't ask about her, and I can't go abroad for her because of my country situation. It won't allow me. And I remember every day I would pray and I would ask God to bring her back to me. I would ask God for her health, for her safety, because it's not normal to just leave a friend behind, especially if there's nothing going on between you two. Like, we weren't fighting, we weren't having any troubles. So her disappearance is just, it's unexplainable as far as I feel. And one day I woke up around the time of morning prayers. I never usually pray morning prayers because I always fall asleep, so I just pray them when I wake up. But I woke up around the time of morning prayers, and it was a sudden waking because I'm not used to waking up around this time. And I could hear the sound of the adhan, the prayer, And I decided to pray because, I'm awake and it's prayer time, so why not pray? And I prayed, and I remember feeling weird. Like I was feeling spiritual, but not in a good way. I was I was feeling eerie and scared. I wouldn't say scared, just like something wasn't right, like something bad is going to happen, and I'm not sure what. And I decided to just rub it off because it can just be a silly feeling, and go back to bed. And I did end up going back to bed. But what I dreamt terrified me. I dreamt that my friend was lying in a bed, sick, coughing, ill, and I was the one sitting next to her. And I don't know if I'm going to put this in the correct words that will convey the idea that I have, but I remember that I was not myself. Like, my body was being controlled by something else. I was conscious on the inside, and I was hurting this person physically with my body. I was hurting my friend, and I was being cruel towards her. But I was conscious on the inside, and I could see what my hands were doing, and I was like, why am I doing this? This is my friend, and I love her so much. And I want to stop myself, but it's like I have no control over my body all over again. And I'm sorry if I keep cutting off, but it's very hard for me to tell this story without feeling a knot in my throat. Like I shouldn't be saying it out loud, like I'm doing something wrong. So I was hurting this person, and I looked in the mirror and I didn't see myself. I saw something hideous and ugly. It was like the same monster that I saw tear my mother apart. And I was frightened because I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I didn't notice it was the same monster because I was just looking at my body and not at the overall structure. And I was like, what is this? This is not me. I'm trapped inside something else, And then when I looked at the overall image of myself, I noticed that I was the monster that I dreamt of when I was a little girl that murdered my mother. And I was doing the same thing to my friend. And I couldn't do anything. I froze. I was conscious as I was leading my friend to her death. And she died in my hands. And I continued to hurt her, and I continued to torture her in hideous ways. Beyond explaining, I can't even say them out loud without stuttering. I was injecting her with stuff and tearing her and cutting up and doing things when she died after a while. But I continued to do this. And inside, I was conscious. I was seeing myself do this, and I was crying and begging, no, I need to control myself, and I couldn't control myself. And then I woke up. I woke up with the same feeling I woke up 10 years ago when I was 10 years. And now I'm 20, and I woke up with the exact same feeling. With my heart racing rapidly, my body excessively sweating, my body felt like somebody has bruised me and beat me up in my sleep. I couldn't get up. I had to lay down in bed for a really long time so I could physically get up. And I was scared beyond explanation. And that is when I noticed that I had the symptoms before when I was a child, but I buried them. I decided not to think of them as much. And I remember that it was the same monster, the same dream, the same feeling that led to my mom passing away after 2 months of that dream. And I wondered, could the reason why my friend not be responding to me because I have, or because she has died and I have predicted it? Until this day, I still wonder. I still think of this friend, even though it's been months, maybe 6 months since we cut off, since the last time she spoke to me. And I wonder, could she be dead or alive? I sometimes mourn over her as if she is dead. Sometimes I pray for her as if there is a possibility that she is alive. But I'll never know the full answer. And that is what keeps me up at night. That is what gets me crying sometimes. Sometimes I would have problems in my life and I would get upset about these problems, but instead of being angry at these problems, I remember her. And I get angry because she's no longer here with me. I don't know how. I've built up a association of her with sadness. Now whenever I am sad or whenever I'm upset about something, I can't help but also be upset about her and also upset about my mother. It could be something as simple as getting a bad grade at university, and then I'm upset because, she's no longer here, my mother is no longer here. And somehow I feel responsible. I feel like I should have said something before my mother died about this dream, although I doubt that my parents would have taken it seriously. My mother herself doesn't believe in these kind of things, so I doubt that she'd ever understand. And my father, he wasn't a very approachable man. He still isn't till this day. So that's what keeps me wondering, and that's what makes me feel guilty all of the time. Guilty that I associate myself with the cause of their death, although I doubt it. I don't really understand why. But that's all I have for today. I've recently started doing this podcast because I don't really have anybody to talk to about things that I think about. And I would say I spend most of my time thinking or reading. I'm not sure if anyone's going to listen to this or if I'm even going to have any followers or something like this. But having it out there makes me feel a little bit better that I can, even if there is one person listening, that I have one person to listen to. That is all. Thank you for listening to me.